Enlightenment, my story. One day, I was home alone, sitting on the sofa. It was daytime, and I felt calm. Since I was drawn to non-duality and awakening stories, I watched a YouTube clip from Rupert Spira. As a side note, I have experienced several synchronicities for many years, appearing in the form of 2222 and 22 on clocks and tickets, among others. I think this led me to become interested in the spiritual world. Anyway, he was talking about the subject-object relation that we, as humans, have in our everyday life experiences. The human experience consists of you, the subject, living in a world of objects that includes other people, trees, houses, cars, animals, and so on. Everything in this world happens to you. As a person in this world, you have to pull some strings and take action in your life to make it a good experience from your point of view. Rupert also described looking at objects in detail. He went deeper into describing the one looking at objects and the objects themselves. Where does the observing start? Is it in the brain, or does it perhaps start from the object when it reflects light from the sun or other lights? Or is it starting somewhere in between you and the object? At that point, I was very close to the shift we describe as being in oneness, non-duality, awake. I knew from before that to be in stillness, one must be in the one consciousness, higher self, or awareness. When Rupert talked about observing in that way, the borders between the observer and the observed quickly blurred, and all became just one awareness. My consciousness and the objects around me became one. I was it. Just this. I remember bursting out in laughter that lasted several minutes. At the same time, I felt as if I was coming home to a well-known place, and that moved me to tears simultaneously. There I sat on the sofa in the middle of the day, looking at the table, flowers, and the windows, and all was me. All things were just sitting there, vibrating with life. Every object was silently screaming, "Here I am life, it is me." I walked up to the mirror in the same room, looking at my face, with tears falling from my eyes, still laughing. I don't know how many minutes I had the glimpse, but my mind or ego was again taking over, and I quickly wrote a note in order to remember what had just happened. The note was, "It is just this." From that day, my perspective on life has changed. It has been years since this happened. Certain interests that had previously taken a big part of my life now seem to be fading away. I read somewhere that after an ego death or glimpse of enlightenment, there will be a falling away of conditioning, leading the way for you to get nearer to your true self, your soul's purpose. And that journey starts from enlightenment and cannot be stopped. It surely seems to be happening to me. But of course, it is hard to distinguish your closing gap to the higher self happening by itself from the mind and what it can do, believing all this is true. But maybe it is the same thing. All this can sometimes be confusing. If some of you listening to this have experienced something similar, please write a comment. It would be interesting to hear your story. It can be a lonely place, having gone through something like this. Your closest friends or family might not understand what has happened to you. They might also wonder why you have changed in some ways. So that was my story about my glimpse. I will end this video by saying the words again. It is just this.